The sky above Seoul burned orange and red, not from sunset, but from the massive ships that hung in the clouds like metal mountains. Park Do-hyun stood on the rooftop of the military command center and watched them. He had seen these ships before. Everyone on Earth had. The Valorians had arrived 300 years ago, and humanity had never been free since. Do-hyun was 52 years old. His hair had turned gray early, and deep lines marked his face. He had fought in 3 rebellions against the Valorians. He had watched his wife and daughter taken away on transport ships 20 years ago. He never saw them again. The Valorians called it labor relocation. Humans called it slavery. His communicator buzzed. Admiral Bae Sun-woo's voice came through, tired and heavy. Captain Park, report to the underground chamber. Priority 1. Do-hyun took one last look at the alien ships above. There were hundreds of them today, more than usual. Something was happening. The elevator took him deep beneath the earth. The facility had no official name. It appeared on no maps. Only 12 people in the world knew it existed, and Do-hyun was one of them. The doors opened to reveal a vast chamber carved from solid rock. In the center stood a machine that looked almost alive. Pipes and wires spread from it like veins. It hummed with a low sound that Do-hyun could feel in his bones. Admiral Bae Sun-woo waited for him. The old man looked like he had not slept in days. Beside him stood a woman in a white coat. Dr. Yoon Hana was perhaps 40 years old, with sharp eyes and steady hands. She was the smartest person Do-hyun had ever met. Captain, the Admiral said. We have 72 hours. Until what, sir? Dr. Yoon Hana answered instead. Until they take 40% of our population. The Valorian High Council delivered their demand this morning. They need workers for their mining colonies. They have chosen Earth. Do-hyun felt his stomach turn cold. 40%. That was over 3 billion people. Men, women, children. Taken from their homes. Sent to die in mines on distant worlds. And if we refuse? He asked, though he already knew the answer. They will burn our cities from orbit, Admiral Sun-woo said. They have done it before to other species. The Drothans refused them once. Now the Drothan homeworld is dust. Do-hyun looked at the strange machine in the center of the room. Is this why you called me here? Does this thing have something to do with our answer? Dr. Yoon Hana walked toward the machine and placed her hand on its surface. This machine is called the Resonance. It was built 200 years ago, during the Silent Century. Our ancestors created in secret while the Valorians thought we were too weak to fight back. A weapon? The weapon, she said. The most powerful one ever created by any species in this galaxy. So powerful that our own people sealed it away. They were too afraid to use it. Do-hyun studied the machine. It did not look like a weapon. It had no guns, no missiles, no obvious power source. What does it do? Dr. Yoon Hana turned to face him. Her eyes were serious. Every living species vibrates at a unique frequency. Think of it like a song that plays inside every mind. The Valorians have their frequency. The Drothans have theirs. Every alien race in the galaxy shares something similar in their songs. But humans are different. Different how? Our frequency is alone. Completely isolated. No other species in the known universe shares anything close to it. We are, in a way, strangers to the cosmic music. She paused. The resonance uses this difference. It sends out a wave that disrupts all frequencies except ours. It does not kill the body. It kills the mind. Or rather, it removes the mind from the body. Do-hyun felt a chill run down his spine. You mean it can destroy the consciousness of every alien range while leaving humans untouched? Yes. How large is the range? Dr. Yoon Hana looked at the Admiral, then back at Do-hyun. We do not know exactly. Perhaps the entire galaxy. Perhaps farther. The room fell silent. Do-hyun tried to understand what he had just heard. A weapon that could empty the minds of every alien species at once. Billions upon billions of beings, gone. Not dead, but empty. Admiral Sunwoo spoke softly. Now you understand why it was sealed away. This is genocide, Do-hyun said. On a scale that has never existed before. Yes, Dr. Yoon Hana agreed. It is. Our ancestors understood that. They built the resonance because they were desperate, but they could not bring themselves to use it. They hoped we would never need to. And now? Now the Valorians want to take 3 billion of our people. If we refuse, they will destroy us completely. If we agree, we become a slave species forever. Our children will be born into chains. A voice hardened. I have spent my entire life studying this machine. I swore I would never activate it. But I also swore I would never watch my people disappear into alien minds. Do-hyun understood. He thought of his wife and daughter. He thought of the millions of humans already taken over the centuries. He thought of the children who would never know freedom. What do you need from me? He asked. The resonance requires a team to activate it, Admiral Sunwoo said. The facility is deep, and the process is complex. We need soldiers who can protect the operation, and scientists who can run the machine. You have experience with both. You have also lost more than most. You want me to lead the activation team? Yes. If the Council decides to use the weapon, you will be the one to make it happen. Do-hyun looked at the machine again. It hummed quietly, waiting. He thought about what it would mean to turn it on. He thought about the Valorians in their ships above, so confident in their power. He thought about every alien species in the galaxy, living their lives without knowing that humans held the power to end them all. It was too much power. No species should have it. And yet, here it was. There will be others who disagree, he said. People who think we should surrender. People who think using this weapon will make us monsters. There are already such people, Dr. Yoon Hana said. General O. Taiwan has spoken against it. He says using the resonance will cost us our humanity. Maybe he is right. Maybe. But what humanity will we have left if we become slaves? What humanity exists in watching our children taken from us? Her voice was not angry. It was tired. I do not have answers, Captain. I only have choices. Bad ones and worse ones. Do-hyun nodded slowly. He had faced such choices before. In war, there were rarely good options. Only survival and death and the thin line between them. I will lead the team, he said. But I want to understand everything about this weapon first. I want to know exactly what we are unleashing. That is wise, Admiral Sunwoo said. Because once the resonance speaks, there is no taking back its words. Above them, the Valorian ships continued to hover over Earth cities. Their commanders felt safe. They believed humanity was weak, broken, and ready to give up. They did not know about the chamber beneath Korea. They did not know about the machine that hummed in the darkness. They did not know that Earth had already made its choice. Not officially, not yet. But in the hearts of men like Park Do-hyun, the decision was already forming. 300 years of suffering. 300 years of stolen families and broken dreams. Enough. The universe was about to learn why humanity had survived so long against impossible odds. Not because humans were strong. Not because humans were smart. But because when pushed far enough, humans were willing to become the very thing their enemies feared most. Monsters. And monsters do not negotiate. The underground facility stretched deeper than Do-hyun had imagined. He led his team through corridors that had been sealed for over a century. The walls were smooth stone, cut with machines that no longer existed. Every 100 meters, old lights flickered to life as they approached, as if the facility itself was waking up. His team consisted of 15 soldiers and 3 scientists. Among them was Lieutenant Kim Ji-won, a young pilot who had just turned 25. She walked beside Do-yoon with nervous energy. Her eyes kept moving, checking corners and doorways out of habit. "Captain," she said quietly, "is it true what they say about this place?" "That depends on what they say. That the people who built it went mad. That they could hear something after they finished construction. Voices that were not there." Do-hyun had heard the same stories. He did not know if they were true. "Focus on the mission, Lieutenant. We have enough real problems without chasing ghosts." Behind them walked engineer Choi Yuna. She was 60 years old, with white hair tied back in a simple knot. She moved slowly, but with purpose. Her grandmother had been one of the original builders of the resonance. Yuna had grown up hearing stories about the machine, and she had spent her life trying to forget them. Now she was here, ready to finish what her grandmother started. They reached the main chamber after an hour of walking. The resonance stood in the center, larger than Do-yoon remembered from his first visit. Cables as thick as trees connected it to the walls. Screens and control panels surrounded its base. Dr. Yoon Hana was already there, running tests. "The machine is functional," she announced. "Better than functional. It has been waiting for this." "Waiting?" Lieutenant Kim asked. "Machines do not wait," Dr. Yoon Hana said. "But this one feels different. My instruments show power levels rising on their own, as if it knows what is coming." Do-hyun did not like the sound of that. He had commanded many missions, but he had never commanded something that seemed to have its own will. Engineer Choi Yuna stepped forward and placed her hand on the machine. She closed her eyes. "My grandmother told me something before she died. She said the resonance was not invented. It was discovered. Our ancestors found the frequency in the space between stars. They simply built a machine to amplify it." "What does that mean?" Do-hyun asked. "It means this power existed before us. We are just the ones who learned to use it." A heavy sound interrupted them. Footsteps, many of them. Do-hyun turned to see General Oh Taiwan entering the chamber with 20 armed soldiers. The general was a large man with a bald head and hard eyes. He had opposed the weapon from the beginning. "Captain Park," the general said, "I hoped I would find you here." "General, this area is restricted. Everything is restricted these days. That does not seem to stop people from making terrible decisions." The general looked at the resonance with disgust. "You cannot seriously be planning to use this abomination. The council has not decided yet. The council is full of cowards and fools. They will choose survival over morality. They always do." General O stepped closer. "I have studied the records, Captain. I know what this weapon truly does. It does not kill our enemies. It traps them. Their minds are pushed into a frequency we cannot see or touch. They become aware but formless, conscious but unable to interact with anything, forever." The chamber fell silent. Do-hyun had known about the displacement effect, but hearing it described so clearly made his stomach turn. "Is this true?" Lieutenant Kim asked Dr. Yoon Hana. The scientist nodded slowly. "Yes, the resonance does not destroy consciousness. It relocates it. We do not fully understand where they go. Some of the original researchers believed it was another dimension. Others thought it was simply a different layer of reality. Either way, the victims remain aware. For how long?" Lieutenant Kim pressed. "We do not know. Possibly forever." General O Taiwan spread his arms wide. "Do you understand now? This is not a weapon. This is a curse. We would not be killing the Valorians. We would be damning them to an eternity of nothingness. Billions of minds, trapped without bodies, unable to die, unable to live. This is worse than genocide. This is something that has no name. Do-yoon felt the weight of the general's words. He was not wrong. What they were planning went beyond war. It entered territory that humans had never explored before. But then he thought of the ships above Earth. He thought of the 3 billion people who would be taken if they did nothing. He thought of his wife's face, the last time he saw her, being dragged onto a transport ship. "General," he said slowly, "I understand your concerns. But what alternative do you offer? Surrender? Let them take our people? We fight with conventional weapons. We resist. We make them pay for every city they destroy. And then they destroy us completely. The Drothans tried that. Their entire species is gone. Then we die with honor." "Honor?" Do-yoon's voice hardened. "My daughter had honor. She was 15 years old when they took her. She believed in goodness and fairness and doing the right thing. Do you know where she is now, General? Do you know what happened to her?" The general did not answer. "Neither do I. That is the point. We do not know because the Valorians do not tell us. Our people disappear into their mines and colonies, and we never hear from them again. 300 years of this. 300 years of being cattle for alien masters." Do-hyun stepped toward the general. "You speak of honor, but there is no honor in submission. There is no honor in watching children taken while we stand by and do nothing." General O-Taiwan's face twisted with emotion. "And there is no honor in becoming the very evil we fight against. If we use this weapon, we become monsters. Worse than monsters. The Valorians will suffer beyond anything they have done to us. Can you live with that, Captain? Can you sleep knowing what you have done?" "I have not slept well in 20 years, General. I doubt that will change." The two men stared at each other. Behind them, both groups of soldiers tensed. The air in the chamber grew thick with the promise of violence. Lieutenant Kim Ji-won stepped between them. "Stop, both of you. Fighting among ourselves will not help anyone." "She is right," Engineer Choi Yuna said. "The council will make the final decision. It is not for us to settle here with guns." General O-Taiwan shook his head. "The council will choose wrong. I know they will. That is why I came here." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. "This is an EMP charge. It will not destroy the resonance, but it will damage the control systems. It will buy time. Time for cooler heads to think clearly." "General, put that down," Do-hyun warned. "I cannot." "I am sorry, Captain. Truly. But I will not let humanity lose its soul. Not even to save its body." Everything happened at once. General O moved toward the machine. Do-hyun raised his weapon. Lieutenant Kim Ji-won acted faster than anyone expected. She tackled the general from the side, knocking the MP device from his hand. It slid across the floor and stopped at Engineer Choi Yuna's feet. The old woman picked it up carefully. "A brave attempt, General, but foolish. This machine cannot be stopped so easily." General O-Taiwan lay on the ground. Lieutenant Kim's knee pressed against his back. He did not struggle. Instead, he laughed bitterly. "It does not matter. While we talked, my communication officer sent a message to the Valorian fleet. They know you are planning something. They will not wait 72 hours now." Do-hyun's blood went cold. "What have you done?" "I have forced your hand, Captain. The Valorians will attack soon. If you use the weapon now, it proves me right. You are acting from fear, not justice. If you do not use it, they will destroy us before we can try again." He smiled, though there was no joy in it. "Either way, humanity loses. But at least we will lose as humans, not as monsters." An alarm began to sound. Dr. Yoon-hana checked her instruments, and her face went pale. "The Valorian fleet is moving. All 4,000 ships. They are entering attack formation." How long until they reach bombardment range? 6 hours. Maybe less. Do-hyun looked at the resonance. It hummed louder now, as if excited, as if it knew its moment had finally come. He had 6 hours to decide the fate of the galaxy. The first bombs fell on Tokyo. Do-hyun watched the reports come in on the chamber screens. Massive explosions turned buildings into dust. Millions of people ran through streets that no longer existed. The Valorians were not trying to conquer anymore. They were punishing humanity for daring to resist. Beijing is next, Dr. Yoon-hana reported. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook. Then Moscow. Then New York. They are hitting every major city. How many dead so far? Do-hyun asked. Impossible to count. Maybe 50 million in the first hour. Lieutenant Kim Ji-won stood beside the main control panel, her face pale. She had family in Tokyo, a mother and 2 younger brothers. She did not know if they were alive or dead. Captain, she said quietly, we need to activate the weapon, now. The Council has not given authorization. The Council is probably dead. Half of them were in Beijing. She gripped the edge of the panel until her knuckles turned white. Every minute we wait, more people die. How many more do we need to lose before we act? Do-hyun had no answer. He looked at General O Taiwan, who sat in the corner under guard. The general watched the destruction reports with horror on his face. Whatever he had expected, this was not it. He had thought the Valorians would give them time to think, to negotiate. Instead, they chose fire. General, Do-hyun said, do you still believe we should not use the weapon? The general did not answer for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was hollow. I do not know what to believe anymore. I thought I understood the universe. I thought there were rules, even in war. But there are no rules. There is only power and those who wield it. Engineer Choi Yuna approached Dr. Yoon-hana. The activation sequence requires a human mind to tune the frequency. You told me this before, but you did not explain what it means. Dr. Yoon-hana nodded slowly. The resonance cannot simply be turned on like a machine. It needs a living consciousness to guide it. The human mind acts as a lens, focusing the frequency and directing it outward. Without this guidance, the wave would be too scattered to work. And what happens to the person who guides it? Dr. Yoon-hana looked away. The process destroys them. Their consciousness is burned out by the energy passing through it. They die, but not quickly. They feel everything. The chamber fell silent. Do-hyun understood now why the weapon had never been used. It required sacrifice. Not just the sacrifice of the enemy, but the sacrifice of one of their own. I will do it, he said. Everyone turned to look at him. Lieutenant Kim shook her head violently. No, Captain. We need you alive. The military needs leadership. The military needs victory. Leadership means nothing if everyone is dead. He walked toward the resonance. The machine's hum grew louder as he approached, as if greeting him. I have nothing left to lose. My family is gone. My hope died years ago. Let me give meaning to what remains of my life. Engineer Choi Yuna stepped forward. Wait, there may be another way. She pulled out a tablet and began working through calculations. My grandmother left notes. She believed the process could be distributed. Instead of one mind bearing all the energy, multiple minds could share it. The load would be spread thin enough that survival might be possible. Might be? Lieutenant Kim asked. Nothing is certain with this technology, but the original designers planned for 12 operators. 12 minds working together, tuning the frequency as a group. Each one carries a portion of the burden. Do-hyun considered this. 12 people instead of one. All of them taking the same risk. Yes, but a much higher chance of survival for all. How high? I cannot say exactly. Perhaps 70%. Perhaps less. 70%. 3 of the 12 might die. Those were terrible odds, but better than certain death for one person. I need volunteers, Do-Hyun announced. 12 operators to connect with the resonance. I will not order anyone to do this. The choice must be free. He expected hesitation. He expected people to look away and find reasons to refuse. Instead, hands rose immediately. Lieutenant Kim Ji-won stepped forward first. Then 4 soldiers from his team. Then Dr. Yoon Hana herself. More followed until 12 people stood before him. Are you all certain? He asked. You understand what might happen. We understand, Lieutenant Kim said. We also understand what happens if we do nothing. I would rather die trying to save Earth than live knowing I was too afraid to try. Do-Hyun looked at each of them. Young faces and old faces. Men and women. Scientists and soldiers. They represented the best of humanity. The part that would risk everything for others. Then let us begin. Engineer Choi Yuna guided them to positions around the resonance. 12 chairs had been built into the floor, each connected to the machine by thin cables. The volunteers sat down and allowed the cables to attach to their temples. The connection was cold at first, then warm, then something beyond temperature. I can hear it, Lieutenant Kim whispered. The frequency. It sounds like static, but there are patterns in it. Patterns I almost understand. Dr. Yoon Hana moved to the control panel. Beginning activation sequence. Everyone, focus on your breathing. Try to stay calm. The machine will draw energy from your emotional state. Fear and panic make the process harder. Above them, the bombardment continued. More cities burned. More millions died. The reports kept coming, but Do-Hyun stopped listening. There was nothing he could do for them now except finish what he had started. The resonance began to glow. First, a faint light at its core. Then brighter, spreading outward through the cables toward the 12 operators. They gasped as the energy touched them. Some cried out. Lieutenant Kim gripped the arms of her chair until they cracked. Frequency at 30%, Engineer Choi Yuna announced. 40%. 50. The light grew blinding. The hum became a roar. Do-Hyun could feel the vibration in his teeth, in his bones, in his soul. Something was happening that went beyond technology. Something ancient and terrible was waking up. 60%. 70. 80. The 12 operators screamed. Not from pain alone, but from something else. They were hearing things. Seeing things. The barriers between their minds and the machine were breaking down. I can see them, one soldier gasped. The Valorians. I can see their thoughts. They are so afraid. They do not understand what is happening. 90%. 95. Dr. Yoon Hana hesitated at the final control. She looked at Do-Hyun with tears in her eyes. Once I do this, there is no return. The wave will spread at the speed of thought. Every alien mind in its path will be displaced. Billions of beings. Entire civilizations. Are we ready to carry this weight? Do-Hyun thought of Tokyo burning. He thought of his daughter somewhere in the stars, alone and afraid. He thought of 300 years of human suffering. Do it. She pressed the control. The resonance reached 100%. And then everything went silent. Not quiet. Silent. Complete and perfect silence that swallowed all sound. Do-Hyun felt his ears pop as the pressure changed. The light from the machine collapsed inward, then exploded outward in a wave of nothing. He could not see the wave. No one could. But he felt it pass through him, through the walls, through the earth itself. It moved faster than light, faster than thought. It spread outward from Earth like ripples from a stone dropped in water. And everywhere it touched, minds went empty. In orbit, 4,000 Valorian warships went dark. Soldiers stopped mid-step and fell where they stood. Commanders slumped over their controls. Every alien consciousness vanished in an instant. But they did not die. Their hearts kept beating. Their lungs kept breathing. Their bodies continued to function. Only their minds were gone, pushed somewhere beyond human perception. Lieutenant Kim Ji-won was the first to open her eyes. She was still alive. Tears streamed down her face, but she was alive. "I can hear them," she said. "I can hear all of them. The Valorians, the others. They are screaming, but no one can hear them. No one except us." The 12 operators looked at each other. They had survived the process, but they were changed. Something in their minds had opened. A door that could not be closed. Engineer Choi Yuna checked the readings. The wave has spread beyond the solar system. It is still expanding. Every alien species within its path is being affected. Do-hyun walked to a window and looked up at the sky. The Valorian ships still hung there, but their lights had died. They were tombs now, monuments to a war that ended in a single heartbeat. "What have we done?" he whispered. No one answered, because no one knew. The universe had fallen silent. And somewhere, in a frequency humans could not perceive, billions of minds waited in the darkness, aware of everything and able to touch nothing. 3 days after the resonance fired, Captain Park Do-hyun walked through the streets of what had been Seoul. Half the city still stood. The other half was rubble from the Valorian bombardment. Rescue teams worked through the ruins, pulling survivors from collapsed buildings. The screams of the wounded mixed with the cries of those who had lost everything. But there were no more bombs. No more alien ships firing from above. The Valorian fleet floated silently in orbit, 4,000 vessels filled with empty bodies. Their crews still breathed, still had heartbeats, but there was no one home behind their eyes. Do-hyun entered the underground facility for what felt like the 100th time since activation. The resonance had gone quiet after firing. It sat in its chamber like a sleeping giant, satisfied with its work. Dr. Yoon-han has spent every waking hour studying it, trying to understand what had happened. "The wave has stopped expanding," she told Do-hyun. "We have confirmed its final range. It reached approximately 40,000 light years in all directions before losing power. 40,000 light years." Do-hyun repeated the number slowly. "How many species is that?" "Based on our records of the Galactic Confederation, at least 217 known civilizations. Trillions of beings. All of them displaced. Trillions." The number was too large to understand. Do-hyun had known the weapon was powerful, but he had not truly grasped its scale until now. They had not just won a war. They had emptied a significant portion of the galaxy. "And the 12 operators?" he asked. "How are they?" Dr. Yoon-han's expression grew troubled. "Physically, they have recovered. But mentally, something has changed in them. They can perceive the displaced consciousness now. They hear them constantly, like whispers in the back of their minds." Do-hyun found Lieutenant Kim Ji-won sitting alone in a quiet room. She stared at the wall, but her eyes were focused on something far beyond it. When he entered, she turned to him slowly. "Captain," she said. Her voice was different now. Softer, but also heavier. "I can hear them all the time. Millions of voices, crying out for help. They know what happened. They remember everything. They are aware, but unable to touch anything. Unable to see anything. Just floating in endless nothing. Can they communicate with you? Not clearly. It is like hearing people shout from the bottom of a deep well. I catch fragments, emotions, fear, mostly, confusion. Some of them are angry. Some have simply gone mad from the isolation. She paused. The children are the worst. There are Valorian children in that place. They do not understand why they cannot find their parents. They call out, but no one answers. Do-hyun felt sick. He had known what the weapon would do. He had accepted it. But hearing about children trapped in formless eternity made it real in a way that numbers could not. "Is there any way to reverse it?" he asked. "Can we bring them back?" "I do not know. Dr. Yoon-hana is working on it, but she says the original designers never planned for reversal. The weapon was meant to be final. Final. Such a small word for such a terrible thing." Over the following weeks, humanity began to explore the galaxy it had inherited. Ships traveled to Valorian colonies and found them silent. Billions of empty bodies walked aimlessly or lay where they had fallen. Some alien species had automated systems that kept their societies running, but without conscious minds to guide them, everything slowly fell apart. Earth's government sent teams to secure alien technology. They found weapons, ships, medical devices, and tools beyond anything humans had created. The Valorians had been an advanced civilization. Now everything they had built belonged to humanity. But there was no celebration, no joy. People looked at the alien treasures and saw only ghosts. General O Taiwan was released from custody after 1 month. There seemed little point in punishing him. His warnings had been correct, even if his methods had been wrong. He walked free, but refused to speak to anyone. He spent his days sitting in parks, watching children play, perhaps reminding himself why life still mattered. Do-hyun visited him once. The general looked older than before, broken in ways that did not show on the surface. "You were right," Do-hyun said. "About everything. We became monsters." "No," General O replied quietly. "We were always monsters. We just never had the power to prove it before. Every species is capable of what we did. Given enough fear, enough desperation, anyone will choose survival over morality. I see that now. Then what was the point of trying to stop us?" "Hope, Captain. I hoped we were better. I hoped I was wrong about human nature." He looked up at the sky where empty Valorian ships still orbited. "I was not wrong." 3 months after activation, the 12 operators gathered for the first time since that day. They had become known as the listeners because they were the only ones who could perceive the displaced minds. Their ability had grown stronger over time. What started as whispers had become clear voices. Lieutenant Kim Ji-won had emerged as their leader. She had adapted to the constant mental noise better than the others. Where some listeners went mad from the pressure, she remained focused and determined. "I have been trying to communicate with them," she told Do-hyun and Dr. Yoon-hana. "Most of them are too lost to form coherent thoughts. But some of the older minds, the leaders and scholars, have maintained themselves. They can focus enough to send messages." "What do they say?" Do-hyun asked. "Different things. Some curse us. Some beg for release. Some simply want to know why." She hesitated. "But there is one mind that says something different. The Valorian Emperor himself. His consciousness is still intact, and he has managed to organize others around him. He does not ask for freedom. He asks to speak with whoever is in charge of Earth." Do-hyun exchanged a look with Dr. Yoon-hana. Why would he want to talk? What could we possibly negotiate at this point? He says it is not negotiation. He says it is a warning. He says we need to understand something important before it is too late. Dr. Yoon-hana frowned. "A warning? From our victim? That sounds like manipulation." "I thought so too at first. But his emotions are genuine. I can feel his fear, and it is not fear of us. It is fear of something else. Something bigger." Do-hyun made the decision to listen. They set up a communication chamber where Lieutenant Kim Ji-won could focus her ability. It took hours of concentration, but eventually, the voice of the Valorian Emperor came through, translated by her mind into human language. "You have done something you do not understand," the Emperor said. His tone carried no hatred, only exhaustion. "The resonance was not created by humans. It was given to you. Do you know by whom?" Do-hyun answered through Lieutenant Kim. "We found the records. Our ancestors discovered it. They built the machine to amplify it. Your ancestors discovered nothing. They were shown. Something wanted humans to have this weapon. Something ancient and patient. It has done the same to other species before. It gives them the power to silence their enemies. Then it waits. Waits for what? For the species to use it. Once they do, it knows they are ready." A chill ran down Do-hyun's spine. Ready for what? Ready to meet. "You see, Captain, we Valorians were not always conquerors. Long ago, we too were given a choice. A different kind of weapon, but the same test. We failed. We chose power over peace. We became what we became because something shaped us that way." The Emperor's voice grew weaker, as if the effort of communication was draining him. "You think you have won. You think you are safe now. But you have only announced yourselves. The silence is watching. It has always been watching. And now it knows that humanity passed the same test we did. It knows you are willing to become monsters." Lieutenant Kim Ji-won trembled from the strain. "He is fading. I cannot hold the connection much longer." "One last question," Do-hyun said quickly. "What is the silence? What does it want?" The Emperor's final words came through like distant thunder. "We do not know what it wants. We only know what it does. It collects species that prove themselves capable of cosmic violence. It studies them. It shapes them. And then, when the time is right, it uses them. Against what? We never discovered. Perhaps you will learn. Perhaps you will become what we could not." The connection broke. Lieutenant Kim collapsed, exhausted. Do-hyun caught her before she hit the ground. "What does this mean?" Dr. Yoon Hana asked. "Is he telling the truth?" Do-hyun looked at the ceiling, imagining something beyond the stars, something that had watched humanity struggle and suffer for centuries, waiting to see what they would do when given ultimate power. "I think we are about to find out." 5 years had passed since the resonance fired. Earth had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. Cities were rebuilt. Technology stolen from fallen alien civilizations transformed human life. Disease became rare. Hunger became a memory. Humans colonized the empty worlds that once belonged to their enemies, building new homes among the ruins of alien dreams. But beneath the progress, something darker grew. Captain Park Do-hyun, now Commander Park Do-hyun, stood before the United Earth Council. He had aged another decade in those 5 years. The weight of what they had done pressed on him every day, every hour. He saw it in the faces of everyone who knew the truth. "We have a problem," he announced. "A faction within our military wants to use the resonance again." Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Admiral Bae Sunwoo, now ancient and frail, raised his hand for silence. "Who leads this faction?" "General Shin Yong-ho. He believes we should expand our territory further. Clear out any potential threats before they can develop. He calls it preventive security." "That is genocide," Admiral Sunwoo said flatly. "He calls it survival." He points to the warning from the Valorian Emperor. "If something is watching us, waiting for us, then we should be as strong as possible when it arrives." His logic is simple. Kill everything that might threaten us. Become the most powerful species in the galaxy. The council erupted in argument. Some agreed with General Shin. Fear of the unknown silence had spread through human civilization. People wanted protection, and some believed that meant continuing what they had started. Others were horrified. They had seen what the resonance did. They lived with the consequences every day. More death would only add to their burden. Do-hyun waited for the noise to die down. When it did, he continued, "I did not bring this to you for debate. I brought it because General Shin has already acted. He has moved his forces to the facility. He plans to activate the resonance within the next 12 hours. Silence fell over the chamber. Then chaos. Do-hyun left them to their panic and made his way to the listener compound. The 12 operators had become something more than human over the years. Their connection to the displaced consciousness grew stronger with time. They could now speak with the trapped minds almost freely, acting as bridges between worlds that no longer touched. Lieutenant Kim Ji-won, now called simply the Voice by most people, met him at the entrance. She looked different from the young pilot he had known. Her eyes held depths that no human eye should hold. She had spent years listening to billions of screaming minds. It had changed her in ways that language could not describe. "I know why you are here," she said before he could speak. "General Shin, he has been preparing for months. We felt his intentions growing darker. Can you stop him? The listeners have discussed it. We have decided not to intervene directly. This is a choice humanity must make for itself. We cannot force goodness upon our species." Do-hyun felt frustration rise in his chest. "Then, what is the point of your power? Why can you hear the victims if not to prevent more victims? Because someone must remember them." Her voice carried infinite sadness. "Someone must carry their pain. That is our burden. We do not choose what humanity becomes. We only witness it. That is not enough. Not for me." He turned to leave, but her hand caught his arm. "Wait, there is something you should know. The Valorian Emperor has been teaching us, showing us the history of the galaxy that your records do not contain. Other species have faced this same test. Some chose violence again and again, emptying the stars around them until nothing remained. Others chose differently. They found ways to live with their guilt, to grow beyond their darkest moment. And what happened to those species? The violent ones were eventually collected by the silence. They disappeared into whatever purpose it has for them. But the peaceful ones, the ones who refused to use their power again, they were left alone. They were allowed to continue." Do-hyun understood what she was saying. The choice before humanity was not just about General Shin or the faction. It was about what kind of species they would become. If they used the resonance again, they would follow the path of conquerors. If they refused, they might find another way. "I have to stop him," Do-hyun said. "Not because it will save anyone, but because I cannot watch us become what the Valorians were. I cannot become that person again." Lieutenant Kim nodded slowly. "Then go. But know this, Commander. Whatever happens, we listeners will remember. We will carry your story into the frequency where the displaced minds wait. They will know that at least one human tried to be better." Do-hyun traveled to the facility with a small team of loyal soldiers. General Shin had fortified the entrance, but Do-hyun knew passages that the general did not. They entered through maintenance tunnels that had not been used in decades. The confrontation happened in the main chamber, in front of the resonance itself. General Shin stood at the controls with 50 armed men. He looked at Do-hyun without surprise. "I knew you would come," the general said. "You always were too soft for this work. Using the weapon again will not make us safe. It will only make us monsters. We are already monsters, Commander. That ship sailed 5 years ago. Now we have a choice. Be monsters who survive, or be monsters who are destroyed by something bigger. The silence may not be what you think. The species that refuse to use their weapons again were left alone. Maybe peace is the answer, not more violence. General Shin laughed. Peace? With what? The galaxy is empty because of us. There is no one left to make peace with. And whatever the silence is, do you really think it will respect pacifism? It has been collecting violent species for millions of years. It understands strength. That is the only language that matters in the universe. You do not know that. Neither do you. The difference is that I am willing to act on uncertainty. You are paralyzed by it. The two groups faced each other across the chamber. Do-hyun felt the weight of the moment. Everything came down to this. 5 years of guilt and nightmares and hoping for redemption. He made his choice. I will not let you activate it, he said. Even if I have to die here, that can be arranged. Weapons raised on both sides. The air crackled with tension. And then, something unexpected happened. The resonance began to glow. Not because anyone had activated it. The machine simply woke up on its own, its hum filling the chamber with sound that vibrated in their bones. Everyone froze, confused and afraid. A voice spoke. Not through speakers. Not through any human technology. It spoke directly into their minds, bypassing their ears entirely. You have been watched. You have been measured. Now, you will be chosen. The glow intensified. Do-hyun felt something vast and ancient pressing against his consciousness. Something that had existed before stars were born. Something that had seen species rise and fall across billions of years. The silence had arrived. The test was not the weapon. The voice continued. The test was this moment. What you choose now determines your value. General Shin's face twisted with defiance. I choose strength. I choose survival. Fire the weapon. He reached for the controls. Do-hyun moved faster than thought. Years of training, years of pain, years of hoping for this exact moment. He tackled the general away from the panel, sending them both crashing to the ground. The machine's glow flickered. Interesting, the silence said. One human chooses destruction. Another chooses restraint. You are divided, as all species are. But the one who stopped the weapon moved first. That is what matters. The glow began to fade. General Shin struggled beneath Do-hyun, but other soldiers moved to restrain him. The moment had passed. What happens now? Do-hyun asked the presence in his mind. You will be watched longer. Your species has potential, but potential is not destiny. Choose well in the years to come. The galaxy has room for builders or destroyers. You have shown you can be both. Now show us which you prefer. The voice vanished. The resonance went quiet. The chamber fell silent, except for heavy breathing and the sounds of General Shin being taken into custody. Do-hyun stood up slowly. His body ached. His mind ached more. But somewhere deep inside, something had changed. A small spark of hope that he had thought dead for 5 years. They had passed one test. There'd be others. The silence would continue watching. Humanity would continue struggling with its own nature. But today, at least, they had chosen something other than destruction. It was not redemption. It was not forgiveness. The trillions they had displaced would remain trapped forever, screaming into the void where only the listeners could hear them. But it was a beginning. And beginnings, Do-hyun knew, were sometimes enough. He walked out of the chamber and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the silence waited. Somewhere out there, the displaced mind suffered. Somewhere out there, the future was being written in choices not yet made. Humanity would face that future together. Broken and guilty and scarred, but still human. Still capable of choosing better. And that, in the end, was what made them dangerous. Not their weapons, not their violence, but their endless, stubborn refusal to accept that their worst moment had to define them forever. The stars looked back at Earth, and Earth looked back at the stars. The story was not over. It was only beginning.